Eli Carter wiped his hands on a stained apron as the freighter drifted silently through deep space. The ship's mess hall smelled faintly of roasted meat and spices, a comforting aroma that meant little to the alien crew who rarely touched human food. He diced vegetables with smooth, practiced motions, the sharp blade flashing under the fluorescent lights. Around him, a few curious crew members from different species peeked in, watching the strange human prepare meals they found incomprehensible. To them, Eli was harmless, the quiet man who fed the ship's only human passenger, himself. No one thought twice about the cook. He didn't look strong or dangerous, just broad-shouldered from years of lifting pots instead of weapons. The alien officers chatted in low voices at a nearby table, their words tinged with amusement. They often joked about Eli's primitive cuisine, wondering why humans insisted on cooking their food instead of consuming it raw or synthesized. He smiled faintly at their comments but never argued. Humans were rare on interspecies freighters, seen as unpredictable, emotional, and oddly resourceful, yet most aliens assumed they were physically unimpressive. Eli didn't mind. Being underestimated was easier that way. As he stirred a simmering pot, the steady hum of the ship's engines changed. A low tremor vibrated through the floor. He paused, spoon in hand, and glanced toward the ceiling as an alert tone echoed down the corridor. The officers stiffened, their laughter dying instantly. Unidentified vessels approaching. The ship's AI announced, voice sharp and cold. Weapons charged. Shields at 50%. Eli set the spoon down and wiped his hands again. Outside the wide porthole, streaks of light appeared. Pirate craft, fast and armed. The freighter's crew scrambled, alarm sirens wailing through every deck. Eli stepped to the doorway and watched the chaos build as aliens rushed past, some fumbling for sidearms they clearly weren't trained to use. He moved to the galley counter, his face unreadable. The pirates were closing in fast, cutting through the freighter's defenses with ruthless precision. For the traders and engineers aboard, this was a death sentence. Everyone knew what happened to crews that resisted. Eli exhaled slowly, eyes narrowing. The distant memories of another life stirred, one filled with combat drills, weapons, and missions he had tried hard to forget. He reached for a long chef's knife, testing its balance in his hand. His fingers tightened around the handle. The alarms blared louder, echoing through the ship like a countdown. Eli slid the knife into a sheath he had improvised long ago and tied the apron tighter around his waist. He looked calm, but behind his steady gaze burned something sharp and dangerous. For now, he went back to chopping vegetables. There would be time to act soon enough. The ship jolted violently as the pirates' weapons tore through its outer hull. Lights flickered, and the alarm tone changed to a piercing wail. The alien crew panicked, shouting orders that overlapped and made little sense. Eli moved calmly through the mess hall, grabbing a small satchel from beneath the counter. Inside were kitchen tools, sealed rations, and a few sharp implements he had sharpened more than any cook would need. Metallic thuds echoed through the ship, the sound of docking clamps. The pirates were boarding. Eli stepped into the corridor, his footsteps quiet while the crew scrambled for cover. Fear gripped every face he passed. These were engineers, traders, and navigators, none trained to fight. The first pirate appeared at the far end of the hall, armor mismatched but weapons lethal. Behind him, more spilled to the airlock, shouting threats in a guttural alien tongue. They moved fast, blasting security cameras and cutting off communications. The bridge was overrun within minutes. The freighter's captain, a tall insectoid officer, was forced to his knees as the pirate leader barked orders and demanded cargo codes. Eli lingered in a shadowed alcove, eyes cold and calculating. He had seen this before, raiders who slaughtered crews after looting their holds. No one would be spared if these pirates got what they wanted. His mind worked quickly, assessing routes, weak points, and opportunities. He slipped into the galley again, fingers moving fast as he assembled what he needed. A heavy skillet, a butcher's knife, a pressurized gas canister he taped into a crude explosive. It wasn't elegant, but it would be enough. As pirates marched frightened crew members past the mess hall, Eli stayed out of sight. He had once been a soldier, though no one aboard knew it. He had walked away from that life years ago, trading weapons for pots and battlefields for kitchens. But survival was instinct, and he could feel it awakening again, sharp and undeniable. The aliens begged for mercy as they were shoved toward the cargo bay. The pirates laughed, confident and cruel. Eli's jaw tightened as he watched from the shadows. One of the pirates peeled off, scanning for any stragglers. Eli waited until the pirate's back was turned. Then he moved, silent, efficient, precise. The chef's knife slid cleanly under the alien's chin. The body hit the floor without a sound. Eli dragged the corpse into a supply closet, wiped the blade, and exhaled slowly. His pulse was steady, his hands firm. The time for hiding had ended. Somewhere deep inside, the part of him that had once been a predator was fully awake. Eli advanced through the narrow corridors like a shadow, every step deliberate. The ship's lights flickered erratically, casting jagged patterns across the walls. The pirates moved in groups, confident, laughing as they looted the freighter. They had no idea that one of their own had already vanished. He gripped the butcher's knife in one hand, the heavy skillet in the other. His mind mapped the ship instinctively. He knew every storage room, every maintenance hatch. Years of working in the galley had taught him more about the vessel's layout than most of the crew. Two pirates rounded a corner ahead, weapons lowered as they argued over which cargo hold to strip first. Eli stepped forward without hesitation. The skillet cracked against the first pirate's helmet, the force dropping him instantly. Before the second could react, Eli's knife plunged upward, swift and silent. He dragged both bodies into a dark side passage, leaving no trace. He scavenged their weapons but kept to his tools. The silence of blades suited him better than the noise of blasters. He moved lower into the ship, using the maintenance hatches to stay ahead of the pirates. In the galley, he had mixed a small chemical concoction, harmless on its own, volatile when heated. He left a makeshift bomb near a power junction, rigged to detonate when the pirates passed. Minutes later, the explosion rocked the deck, plunging half the freighter into darkness. Panic spread among the raiders. They cursed and shouted, firing blindly into the shadows. Eli used the chaos, striking fast and vanishing before they could react. A knife in the ribs, a throat slit, a push into an open airlock. Every move was precise, efficient. The fear in their voices grew. In the cargo bay, he found four pirates forcing crew members to their knees. Eli climbed to an overhead catwalk, cutting the maglocks on a row of heavy cargo containers. With one final pull, the locks released. Several tons of supplies crashed down, crushing the raiders instantly. The survivors began to retreat, the once cocky invaders now hunted and terrified. They whispered frantically about a human demon stalking the corridors. To them, Eli was no longer just a cook. He was something primal, unpredictable, and relentless. At last, only the pirate captain remained, standing defiant near the bridge hatch. Eli approached slowly, blade in hand. The captain raised his weapon, but Eli was faster. A feint, a sidestep, and the knife found its mark. The captain collapsed, shock frozen in his lifeless eyes. Eli stood over the body, breathing steadily. Around him, the freighter was silent except for the distant hum of engines. The hunt was over. The ship was eerily quiet now, the alarm silenced, the halls littered with the aftermath of Eli's work. Smoke curled from scorched panels, the acrid scent of burned wiring mixing with a coppery tang of blood. Crew members peeked from hiding places, wide-eyed and trembling, as they saw the bodies of pirates sprawled across the deck. Eli walked calmly back toward the galley, the butcher's knife still in his hand. His apron was smeared with dark stains, but his expression hadn't changed, steady, composed, as though none of this had rattled him. He stepped over the fallen pirates without a glance, heading straight to the kitchen he had left behind. The captain rose slowly from the floor where he had been forced to kneel earlier, his multifaceted eyes fixed on the human. "You did this?" His voice trembled with disbelief. Eli gave a short nod. "They weren't leaving us alive," he said simply, rinsing the blade in the sink. The water ran red, then clear again. Crew members whispered among themselves, staring at him with a mix of awe and fear. This quiet cook, this man they had dismissed as harmless, had done what none of them could imagine. The insectoid captain stepped closer, still stunned. We thought you were just a cook." "I am," Eli replied, drying the knife with a rag. He set it down as if the conversation were over. Reports were already being sent to Central Command. Word was spread fast. A human alone had eradicated an entire pirate crew without help or advanced weapons. For many species across the stars, it would be a chilling story. One more reminder that humans were far more dangerous than they looked. Eli plated the stew he had been making before the attack, its rich aroma filling the mess hall once again. The crew hesitated, still staring at him, but he only gestured to the table. "Eat. You're safe now." When the freighter finally limped back to port, officials demanded to know what had happened. The alien captain could only shake his head. "Never underestimate a human," he said quietly. Long after the event, tales of the cook of the Solera would circulate in space's bars and military briefings alike. Pirates who heard the story gave wide berth to ships with humans on board. To them, the message was clear. Humans didn't need power armor or fleets to be lethal. Sometimes, all it took was one man with a knife and the will to survive. Eli Carter never spoke of it again. He returned to his kitchen, chopping vegetables with the same steady hands, as though nothing had changed. But to everyone who had seen what he had done, the quiet cook would never be just a cook again.